Day 2.
Day 2. You go first.
We woke up at like 6:30 and had breakfast, and then we drove up the side of a mountain for like 2.5 hours until we got to a school. And then we left half the group there, and the other half went like another 30 minutes, 45 minutes to another school. And we did head-to-toe assessments on all the kids there. And my group had like 13 kids, and yours had like 20. And I was very sick on the way there and all day.
So today, let's see what happened first. We ate breakfast, and breakfast was good. And then we rode in the bus, or in the trucks, and so we had 3 trucks, and so in 2 groups. So one group went in one bus, and one group went in another bus. And me and Grace got in the bus with the translators and Shauna because there wasn't enough spots on the other bus. And so we drive up this, like, at first it's just like the normal, like, kind of hectic dirt road and like the motorcycles and stuff, which are like kind of scary, just because like everybody's swerving and honking. And so we do that, and then we get on this one road, and it is like, I have no idea how, like, the rest of the roads around here are kind of like not quite as wide as like a 2-lane road, but wide enough for you to like kind of get into like their little like grassy median kind of thing and like, you know, get around each other. Whereas this road was legit as wide as the cars. Like, I have no idea how, like, we thought it was a one-way road. Like, I asked Shauna, and she was like, yeah, this has to be a one-way road. Because it's like cliff, and it was just insane. And so,
Well, they usually don't even drive cars because there's only one
That's true.
one patch in the middle that's worn down to dirt. It's because they ride their motorcycles.
yeah, that is true.
So it was very narrow.
Yeah, it kind of looked like a walking trail almost. Anyway, I did, on the way back, though, there was another car coming. Oops.
The lights turned off. The lights in here are on a timer so they don't use up all their electricity.
And so we drove up that, and that was just seriously so much fun. Me and Grace were cracking up. There was, I was sitting right behind the driver, and I was hanging onto the headrest like for dear life, and the seats are like sideways, so like we face each other in the back of the truck, and Grace is literally holding onto my entire torso, and we are still falling onto one of the translators behind us because this hill is so steep, and it was so fun. And it was just like there's no way I would even dream of like driving that like in my Jeep or letting you drive that in my Jeep. Like,
It was nuts.
it was hilarious. We were dead. Like, every once in a while they would like laugh at us because our eyes would be like this big. But it was so much fun. Me and Grace had a really good time. And then we got to the first school, and when we pulled up to it, I thought it was like a rest stop or like a pickup stop for you to like wait while you're walking in some shade or something. Because it was literally just like a wooden like ceiling wall. And then we pulled to the front, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's children in there. And that's when I realized we had made it to the first school. So then there was some complications. We realized that we had the buses mixed up, and so me and Grace actually went with group 2 on accident, and me and Grace are in group 1, so we wound up leaving them there. But while we were there, me and Grace decided to go to the bathroom, and obviously
Who are we showing this video to?
it's just for me.
Okay.
But it was really funny. And so then we got back on the bus, and we rode a ways. We rode back through the like crazy little like bike trail because we went with the wrong group. So then we met the second group later, and we did a teach. We taught nutrition and exercise. That was really fun. And I got all the kids to like get up and like do jumping jacks and do sit-ups and touch their toes, and they really loved it. And so that was just like really encouraging to see all of them just up and like having fun. And even though there was a complete language barrier, there was a translator, but before the guy was even translating, just because I was doing something, they would do exactly what I did, which like makes sense. But it was just, I don't know, reassuring to know that like the language barrier isn't the only thing. I don't know. It's not a barrier, really, I think. And we played soccer with them, and we had a lot of fun, and there were so many little girls who were just so sweet. And like when we first got there, I like waved to one. I waved to all of them, but like one of them like caught my eye and she like waved back, and then later I peeked my head in again and she waved back, and then during my teach she kept like looking at me like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, even though she totally had no idea. And so she became like my little bestie. They came out with pieces of paper, some of them, and they would pick like their favorite nurse or student or whatever, and they gave them a piece of paper. And so this little girl gave me a piece of paper, and we opened them up, and they say, I love Chana, which is our instructor, Shauna, even though she was not with us at all. She was with the group too, but it was so funny because they know Shauna as like the one who comes and does these things with them and helps them and stuff, like all the adults do. And so they had them write, I love Chana, and it was just so funny because we're like, Chana, who's Chana? And so we were talking to Louise, who's one of the translators, and we were like, we're not from China, just like joking, and he literally goes, it was just hilarious. And so that was really fun. And then we started going to house visits, and we had one lady who had 2 open ulcers, and one of them on her leg, you could see her tendon. And that was just like, that was our first house visit, so it was just a little like unexpected. And that's kind of when I like realized like, oh my gosh, like at first when we got to that house I was like, why are we all here if like they have people here to do this, to like make these house visits? I just kind of felt like a burden, you know, like they had made this little program just for us to come out here and pretend to be missionaries. Like that's kind of what I've been afraid of so far, because we haven't really done much. And that was kind of the moment where I realized the guy who comes and does the house visits doesn't know anything about ulcers. He barely even knew she had them, and her tendon was sticking out. And so that's just kind of when I realized like, oh, they don't know what to do with these kinds of things. And we were talking to her, and my nurse was like, you really need to get this, like you need to go to the clinic and look at this. And she said her husband thinks that it's black magic, and so he doesn't want her to go. And so we prayed with her, and one of the chaplains like spoke to her and prayed over her, and then she cried and she hugged Liz for a long time, who's one of our nurses. And then I wanted to tell her I'm praying for you, but I didn't know how to say it. And so then Elvis is one of our translators. I asked him how to say it, and then it was just like, I don't know, it was really kind of complicated. I think it was like boy, Ayuda something, and then something, I don't remember, but it was like something that I like was not comfortable saying. And before we had even gone into this lady's house, me and Grace had gotten there first, and I was talking to her daughters, and I was like introducing myself and like asking their names, and the little girl, or no, the mom, the one who had the ulcer, she goes, I like her gringo Spanish. And so then I was like really kind of insecure about like my Spanish speaking, which like I already know it's not good, but like, you know, I'm trying. And our Spanish has literally gotten so much better in just like the 48 hours we've been here. And so it's been fun. But anyway, so that was really funny. So then I was really nervous to go tell her like I'm praying for you, but it was like I just wanted to, because I just felt very untherapeutic, just like dressing her wounds and leaving, you know, or like praying over her in a language that I don't know and then leaving. And so anyway, then I got nervous and I was like, no, will you just tell her for me? And Elvis was like, no, go do it. And so then Grace was like, I'll come with you. And I was like, are you going to say it with me? She goes, no, but I'll come with you. And I was like, okay, good. So she came with me, and I said it to her, and she cried and she hugged me for a while, and then she went and hugged all the other students. And so that just, it made me feel like we were finally like here for a reason. And so that was good. And then me and Grace, the other house wasn't very interesting. We just took this guy's blood pressure and his wife's blood pressure, and it was just like a kind of quick assessment. But me and Grace, there's a guy named Josiah, and he works with the team here with Predison, and he's the one who does some of the house visits every day. He does not speak English. He speaks about as much English as we speak Spanish, and so it was really funny, just kind of like us trying to communicate with him all day. And so he actually invited me and Grace to ride on his motorcycle, and we were like, oh yes, because it's terrifying the way they drive here. I mean, they like turn, and there's a car coming, and they just kind of go, pew, and it's scary. And so we rode on the back of the motorcycle with him, and you know, I don't know what he was asking, but he was speaking to us in Spanish, and I'm assuming like he was asking like if we were okay, or like if it was too fast or something, and the only thing we could think of was Jesus Cristo. And so we just were screaming that on the back.
I have no idea how we stayed on. By the grace of God, we stayed on, but it was so much fun. It is like a one-person motorcycle, and there were 3 people on it, but it was just like the most Honduran thing we've done so far. And so it was just such a good memory. And so we did that. And then on the way back, I rode with him because somebody else had ridden with him, and she felt like she was going to fall off, and so she got nervous. And so then he was like, no, I'm not taking 2 people again. I don't want to be responsible for that. I'm only going to take 1 person. So I rode with him, and it was so fun because like the whole time he would just like stop and like point things out and say them in Spanish, and I would say them in English, but like sometimes one of us didn't know what they were pointing to. So like for a long time he was pointing to horses, which I still don't really know the word caballo. Oh, thank God I finally got it. But and I was like, what is he talking about? And so I'd be like, montañas, and he's like, sí, montañas. English, and I'd be like, mountains. He'd be like, oh, and so it was fun. We just kind of had this nice little detour where we just kind of taught each other, and so that was just, I don't know, it was just a cool experience. And I don't know, it was just a good day. I had a really good day today. And then we went swimming in the pond again, and Zach showed off and did a whole bunch of front flips in front of the Honduran men here who were showing off for us, and so it was funny because he was like, watch this. So he could definitely set the standard there. But
They were fun though. There's a older guy, he's like 53,
He's so
58, and
funny.
he was jumping off the cliff and doing front flips into the water. Oscar.
he's so sweet. He doesn't speak any English either, but it's just, I don't know, it's fun being here.
It's a good time. Except I'm hot.
Yeah, it's a little overheated. Everybody is starting to get a little bit crabby, I think. Not a lot of us slept last night. Some of us, like, we all went and, like, laid in, there's hammocks out here, and we laid in them for a little bit because it was so hot in the house last night. And we just stayed out there till we started finally getting sleepy. And then I think we went back in at, like, 11:30 and went to bed. But, I don't know. Anything else you can think of? Highs and lows?
I was sick, but I feel better now, so.
No highs? No highs?
There's this really cute kid at our school who was like 5, and he was super scared to do anything, and by the end of it he was hugging everybody and holding everybody and laughing, so
That's sweet.
it was fun.
When we were doing our assessments today, there was a little boy, and he was our first one to come up to our station to be assessed. And he couldn't have been older than 3, maybe about to turn 4, but not older than 3. And so this was our first day doing any assessments, like, and we don't speak any Spanish, and we had the translators with us, but there were 2 of them trying to translate for like 16 of us, I think. No, not 16. 8 of us. Yeah, sorry, there were 2 tables or 2.
Groups.
Yeah, so I got confused. But this little boy, we did blood pressure first, which we quickly learned was a bad idea. But it squeezed his arm, and he didn't know what was going on, and he got kind of nervous. And so then I was like, okay, after that I was like, I'm gonna look in your mouth and in your eyes and in your ears. And he like kind of looked at me like, are you what? And so I asked the translator to tell him what we were saying, because the only one I knew was ojos, so I just kept going, ojos? And he's like, I don't know what you're saying. And so I told the translator, and the translator told them, and he goes, and he left. And it was really funny. But later, he watched some of the other kids do it, and then I think he felt better. So he came back because he wanted a prize.
That's our cue.
Okay, bye.